justice for all.
We only got 30 seconds here. Everybody look at the claim, or not claims, excuse me, the minutes. Any questions on them?
I would, are we talking both sets? Or are we
Both.
Yes. I would approve the February 16th minutes at this time.
Okay,
And I'd like to hold off on February 2nd for further discussion.
okay. Where do you want to make them?
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving February 16th minutes at this time?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now you got it, Bob.
Okay, thanks. I'd like to set a land use hearing for Matt and Tiffany Rowling for Tuesday, March 23rd at 9:15.
I would make that motion. That we start that land use hearing.
We got a first and we got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What was the date on that?
23rd.
23rd of March.
She was a Miller, right? Was a Miller. Her maiden name.
Tiffany?
Mhm.
I don't know her, Gina.
I think it's Rex Miller's daughter.
They're Carol Miller's relation.
Yeah.
So
'cause
some,
they're
I
divorced.
think that's, they're her mom
Mhm.
or grandma. Her mom.
Yep.
There you go.
That's what I thought it was. I just was curious.
Yeah.
Okay, how about approve the claims? Any questions on the claims?
I had a question on page 1 about the middle of the
Thanks.
Sioux Sales Company.
That would be Ron Tippett.
Well, there's two of them, and I understand Scott Bauman's uniform allowance, I get that. But right below that is a fish uniform allowance?
Last name.
Steve Fish.
Oh.
Fish don't wear uniforms.
Well, that's what I was thinking, and so I was
It'd be
thinking
pretty
maybe it
entertaining.
was something to do with the conservation.
No, Steve Fish.
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna have a meme of that now, right, Rick?
Yeah. Well,
Suit and tie with a
again,
fish.
wasn't sure that conservation had a certain uniform allowance or something, but that was my questions.
They had training, 6650. It's a little further down.
On the same, yes, conservation training.
Yeah.
That's Layla. She's at the Law Enforcement Academy doing her training there.
Academy.
That's
Yeah,
pretty expensive.
yeah, it's called, yeah. She's at the academy right now, so,
They'll be sending another one this fall in too, right?
oh,
I believe.
I don't know that.
I believe. I don't.
Very well could be. Makes sense.
Well, that was the only question I had.
Okay, Gary, you got any questions? I have a
So
motion to,
You've got a motion.
okay,
Or
we got a
Gary,
second,
whichever.
Gary?
Yeah.
All right, all in favor of approving the claims?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Adam, gonna turn it over to you.
You want the copies of what he's talking about right now?
Yes, it probably wouldn't hurt.
I printed them off for you this morning.
Okay, that's the same thing. we got here.
Thank you.
I have the one for you to sign as well.
Okay.
Gary. Oh, did you sign the claims, Gary? Did you sign the claims?
No, I haven't given it to him until we okayed it.
I think I got them.
Okay.
I printed them.
So, about a year or so ago, Benton County, as part of my project, had an agreement with the Department of Agriculture to help fund some of our watershed projects. A couple of those were delayed time-wise due to COVID, and so the contract was set to expire at the end of December of last year. And since some of those projects still aren't completed, we're amending the contract so to the end of this year, December 31st, 2021, so we can complete the project and also get the payment from the state funds for those projects. And then also, one of those original projects in the agreement was canceled, and so we're supplementing the funds that was dedicated to that project to 3 other wetland projects that will be bid out here this year that will increase the total award amount by $27,400 to a total of $192,940.50, which is a not to exceed amount to be used as match for some of our larger wetland projects. And that's just need a motion to approve the amendment to the original agreement, which is what you have, so I can submit invoices for some of the projects that we have completed and then move forward with the ones that we'll be working on here this spring.
Okay.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Yes, sir.
All in favor of approving cost share grant contract amendment for the watershed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then if you want to sign this right here for me, Tracy.
Oh, thank you.
And that is it. Gina, if you could just scan, when you get back to the office, scan and send me a PDF of that.
Yep.
I'll send that on to the state for signature. And then the only other thing I have is Thursday, I have a contractors meeting here at 11. And for the last bid opening we have, they're supposed to bring their contracts to be signed. And so I think, Tracy, I mentioned that to you 2 weeks ago, so if you're around that day, it doesn't have to be necessarily at 11, but we'll need to get those signed.
Okay. I know I got Eastern Iowa Housing at noon to 1 on Thursday, and then from 1:30 till 4 is gonna be Easy Cog.
Is that all digital, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, we just have to, we've already approved the contracts already, so it just needs your signature when they bring out.
Okay. Yeah, then I'll be here at 11.
Yep. I don't know if we'll do it in here or in my office. It should only be a couple people, so
Okay.
I would prefer to do it in here, but it's not available. It'll be in my office, so.
Yeah, well, there was some problems here this morning, people in here. I don't know, I think
Check with
today-
our office.
Yeah, I'll check the calendar.
Yeah,
It's not a big deal. We'll be able to,
Okay.
if we can't use this room, we can just use my office.
Okay.
It should only be about 3 or 4 people.
because I think the other group is supposed to be done here today. They're waiting till we get out of here,
I'm
Yeah.
already here
so.
at the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you know.
To my knowledge, I think it's empty on Thursday.
I didn't.
Yeah, I'll check, there's a calendar on the computer.
Okay.
I'll check that, but,
Oh, you have access to that calendar?
yeah, well, I can't make appointments,
okay.
but I can view it.
Oh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, so I can see if there's any scheduling. I'll check that, but, yeah, Thursday at 11, we'll have that, should only take 20 minutes for the whole
Okay.
meeting, so you don't need to stay for the whole thing by any means, but we'll need your signature on, those contracts, so.
Gotcha.
That's all I got, so.
Good to see you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy, if I may, under item 16, question on old business, while we're kind of in a lull here.
Yep.
Haley had sent out a email asking if anyone's discussed the costs of the moves for the courthouse with moving Luke upstairs.
Okay,
And there was emails back and forth, and I think Julie Hasenius was involved in some of that.
right.
Could you maybe give us an update of what's happening?
Julie's been on vacation for 2 weeks, so.
Which I
She's
knew.
back.
Yeah, she's back.
Yes,
Well,
she was in the office yesterday.
Okay.
Well, see, I did not know that. I know she was gone for 2 weeks when this was all going on. So I don't know if the new line has been set already in the supervisor's old room. I know there was discussion of setting it all up. I don't know if the guy's been there and did it ready.
Do you know anything
I don't know
about
if
it,
they've
Beth?
been moved.
Yes,
I don't think he's been moved yet.
I think, honestly, from what I understand, I don't know if they're trying to figure out who's gonna pay for it first before. Is that what you were alluding to with the email?
Basically,
I
that's
don't
correct.
know.
That's what her question was.
So I don't know if anything's even been discussed as setting it up, because I
Well,
think
with-
it's trying to hash out who's gonna
With
pay for
Julie
it.
being gone, you know, that's kind of a key piece of the puzzle. I would anticipate that the state would reimburse. You know, the county probably has to pay for it up front, and then hopefully the state would reimburse, just like things with DHS. If, you know, maybe that's a Julie question, obviously.
But on the same token, why I understood it though, is that they have their own people do their work.
Okay.
I mean, Ben cannot do it. He cannot touch it, so.
Mm-mm.
And I took it as since they have their own people, it should not cost us anything. Now, that's what I read out of this. It's not,
Well, I'm sure this coming week, you'll probably get clarification.
okay. Well, I'll talk to Julie here today then,
Okay, sweet. That's all I have on that.
okay?
Do you have time to discuss item 12?
Otherwise, I have the date for number 13, if you wanna just set that hearing date.
Yes,
Oh,
let's do
okay.
that one.
March 23rd at 9:30.
Need a motion to approve that public hearing date, or to set it?
Yes, please.
Okay, you got it.
Okay,
Second.
do I have a second? Okay, all in favor, setting the public hearing
Aye?
for the budget?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, just trying to get rid of a sticky note.
Nope.
Fine.
Good idea.
And 9:15, there he is.
Good morning, Ben.
Morning.
It's almost balmy out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nicer though. I don't know. I go from negative 15 something up to this, and it feels like a heat wave.
Okay, Ben, we'll let you batter up.
Okay. I just wanted to come in and talk to you guys today about seasonal hires. I believe that's what, I think Haley had me on for today. Every year, like you guys know, we hire 2 spray truck drivers and an intern to help facilitate our spray operation. So I wanted to talk with you guys about that today, if you're still okay hiring those positions and what rate we were gonna set for their wages.
I would think that we would be okay with that. How your compensation from last year,
We were at $16.50 for the spray truck drivers, and I guess I didn't catch what you guys, normally we've given them a pay bump, that's in line with what the rest of the county employees have got. I don't know what, I never did see what that was this year, if it was 2.5%, 3%, it's
3%.
3%. So I figured their wage based on a 3% bump, and it was like $16.99, so I figured round it up to 17 and give us, kind of, for simplicity's sake, would give you a 3% bump on that wage.
Good. I don't have a problem with that.
And then the internship was at $13.79, I believe, last year. And I went back this morning and I looked through, usually I try to base that wage on kind of the higher end of what seasonal positions are offering at the conservation level, just because it's very comparable in job requirements to what those positions are demanding. And normally, my internship requires a fair amount more technical work than what a lot of those positions are requiring. So I've tried to keep it on the higher end so that I can, try to draw in pre-qualified applicants, which has worked for me in the past anyway. So I had proposed, I guess, a slightly higher pay bump on that this year, just depending upon what you guys thought as well. Like I said, he had, this year, the internship was at $13.79, and I've seen kind of a general trend up in wages across the board on that end. So I thought, maybe somewhere in the $14, $15 an hour range for this coming year is probably where I'd like to be on that, just to try to keep drawing in high quality applicants and stay kind of competitive with what else is available out there.
Do you think you're gonna need to have that swing 3% over what it was? $13.79 is $14.20, a 3% increase.
Yep.
So are you looking for some leeway once you start doing your interviews for that 14, 15 range?
It would be nice to, yeah, just depending, because say somebody comes in with a pesticide applicator's license or a CDL or something like that, where I can kind of compensate them for that, because normally seasonal positions don't require that stuff, but it is something that I encourage them to get just because it prepares them for full-time jobs in the future. Every conservation job anymore pretty much requires a Class A CDL and a pesticide applicator's license, so I try to, and it helps us out too if they've got that in advance, because then I can throw them into the spray truck or driving a truck, compared to somebody that doesn't have it, they provide a lot more benefit in that way too, so.
If the national minimum wage goes through, it's gonna be $15 anyway, and you can flip burgers for that.
Yeah, that's true, and, so that, like I said, I think that would keep us pretty competitive. That's what I budgeted for, when that goes into effect in July, assuming everything's approved, was right at 15 for that position. So I guess I just wanted to get weigh in on that from you guys and see what you thought. And, kind of go
Do you have
from
any
there.
issues giving him some leeway on that?
No, I don't see no problem with it. The only thing I'm questioning is that you need 3 people that you gotta hire, or do you only need 2?
I need to hire, well, I have hired 3 in the past. So I usually hire 2 spray truck drivers because we have 2 trucks that run. And then I've hired an intern to help me out with the weed commission duties and to fill in, kind of flex in to the spray truck whenever we need them, if they can get the certifications. And then they've also helped me with a variety of other things in the summertime that I can't get to when I'm in the spray truck, basically. So like for this year, Wes has been my intern. Well, he's still on now. We've kept him on because we've had work for him to do. But he's helped me throughout the year on a lot of stuff that I just wouldn't have been able to get done, as efficiently otherwise. This summer, when we had weed complaints come in and I was in the truck spraying, he would go out and check to see like if there were actually weeds where we were getting complaints, and that, because that's normally something that I have to try to find time for otherwise when I'm not in the truck. So it really helped us to be much more efficient, I guess, as a program by having him on doing that stuff.
Does he have the license to spray?
He just got his, so for us, it's kind of a 3-part license. You gotta have the core passed, and then you get kind of categories underneath of that. So he passed the core license the other day, and then he has to get category 6, which is right of way, and 1 ag, which is ag. The ag comes in on the weed commission side of it if we have to go out and spray somebody's property or something like that. If they've had a complaint filed on them, and then we have to follow up on it, and then right of way is obviously just for the roadside spraying, so.
Traditionally, in the past, they've had Bruce Anderson, with the Weed Commission and Ben. And then they've had an intern during the summer as well as 2 part-time drivers. So this is nothing more than he's had in the past.
Okay.
Yep, and then Bruce is retiring in a week. Well, no, not even that anymore. I
This
think
week.
Friday might be his last
Yeah.
day.
Yep.
So that's another thing that I had budgeted for was, funding for that position so that we can basically keep the operation going as it has been forever. So yeah, I'm not asking for anything, more than we've been having in the past. That's just kind of how the work's broken down. And the other thing I've had the intern doing too is like, when we go out spraying, it's pretty much 9 hours a day all summer long till we get it done, and it's a one pass on everything. Well, if I get somebody that calls in and says, hey, you missed a few thistles, or hey, they're blooming here and you haven't got there yet, usually I'll send him out too to hit that stuff in advance, just so we can keep up with public complaints and that type of stuff in the right of way, so.
I don't have any issues with, what is it, requested?
The only thing I haven't quite figured out yet is that, I've budgeted for that funding, assuming you guys approve everything, which I guess I haven't discussed with you for a while. Come July 1st, I've discussed it with Myron on still hiring those positions in advance, like we have through his budget, and then transitioning them into my department once that happens. I haven't got a concrete answer on it from him yet, if he's 100% fine with that yet, or, so that'd be the only thing, but, so.
I think that's kind of Myron's mantra. It's hard to nail down.
Yeah.
Now, in your part-time help, you're not planning on 40 hours a week. If it's raining or something, you're just gonna tell them, don't show up?
Yep, that's normally how I handle it, and most of the time, the guys don't usually work. We've always offered a 40-hour work week, and, well, actually, it'd be 45, because they've always had the option of working 9-hour days with us if we can stay busy and we're out spraying, but most of the time, they all have, the 2 spray truck drivers had other jobs, and so they take a day off here and there to go, if the weather's bad or whatever, to go do something else that they've got as a priority. So, yeah, I budgeted for enough funding to cover, cover all that. Basically, if they would work that full period of time, we normally keep them, but normally it doesn't amount to, that working 40 hours a week.
'Cause I know the one driver that you had last year will not be employed, so.
Yeah, and I've had quite a bit of interest so far. I know I've got a couple that both drivers from last year are interested again.
Okay.
And then I have a couple backups too that are also, willing to if something,
Okay.
so. Yeah, and, I always try to leave it open. We've always given them the option too, if they, if we have a day where the wind's, not favorable or the weather's not favorable for some reason, we normally go out and cut trees and stuff, and if they don't want to do it, then usually I just send them home, so, they're staying pretty busy.
So is this an action item? Do we need to take action on this to give the authority to hire?
I would say we should just give him permission.
And at the wages that he has discussed?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll make that motion then.
Gary?
So,
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
you have a range from 14 to 15, so I guess I want to know, is it in your motion, are you, for the intern, is that the?
That is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, that gives him the leeway.
And that's fine, so
To be
17 at the truck driver,
Correct.
and then the leeway it's a 14 to 15 for the intern.
intern.
Perfect, that's what I wanted, thanks.
Okay, we got a second with Gary.
Yep.
All right. All in favor of letting Ben Bonar advertise for his part-time help
Aye.
And intern.
and intern his part-time help? So,
Okay. Aye.
aye. There you go.
Yeah, and then next week I'm kind of been working on a bunch of different things at once, but I should have noxious weed paperwork and all that to get ready for next week. And there's a few other things I wanted to talk to you about just with the department moving out and how you want that structured and a few minor things anyway, so go along with that.
I think you should probably hang around in 5 minutes, the sheriff and emergency manager.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I'll stick around.
Okay.
It's kind of a similar.
Exactly. I don't know if that's what you're planning on talking about next week in addition or not.
Yeah, that was part of it. I think I spoke with Haley the other day about a few things, just about schedule and that type of stuff, because when I read through the handbook from when the weed commission was its own department back in 2009, their work hours were different than secondary roads, and there's a few things just that I wanted to clarify with you guys, so we're all on the same page, you know, going forward anyway, so. But
It wouldn't hurt to get copies of that so we can look at it.
the handbook.
Well, the handbook we got, but I mean, what the discrepancies you're saying. what it was
Yeah,
in
I can
2009.
kind of, yeah, put something together so
Yeah.
you see how, because I believe when I read through the old handbook, where the weed commission was still outside of secondary roads, they worked like 8 to 4:30, where now we work 7 to 3:30. I think most everything else was the same. I do know that, the weed commissioner used to be paid an hourly wage, but I know a lot of department heads are salaried, so I don't know if we need to change, if you guys have a preference on that. Haley said with being a department head, you're not eligible for comp and overtime anyway, so I don't know if it matters all that much, but, and then just on how you guys want to handle reporting on stuff, like say I'm off for the day, if you want me to report to you and let you know, hey, I'm gonna be gone for the day, or I'm out sick or whatever, just because normally I just let the office know at secondary roads and it's communicated that way, but with being, you know,
I don't think at this point in time, any other department heads report to us that, hey, I'm sick today, won't be in.
yeah,
So I wouldn't see that that would be anything you would have to do.
okay,
I would think that you would obviously let your fellow workers know, you know, whomever your second command may be,
Yeah.
or I guess if you have a two-man staff, that's pretty
Yeah.
logical.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to
So-
make sure I discussed it with you, so there's, you know, if you had an
Yeah.
opinion on it, we can do it however it's.
Well, and that way you're transparent.
Yeah, and I mean, I can,
Yeah.
it's no big deal for me to shoot out an email or something too, if it's on a chain, so the auditor's office know and you guys know, that way if somebody calls and I'm not around or something,
Okay. That here.
Yep.
Sheriff.
We would like to discuss, and it's nice that Ben is here today, what are the plans for the old transportation building? We have got the emergency management MASH casualty trailer. We've got
Shelter trailer,
the shelter trailer,
generator.
the generator. We've got another enclosed trailer that we currently keep in the lot out at secondary roads. We've got a couple of light towers that belong to the County Fire Association that we currently house. We would like to get everything under a roof.
Where do you keep them now? Just outside?
The trailers are all outside. The generator is in a building at the sheriff's office. We kind of move it in the wintertime. We either plug it in or we put it in a building where there's heat. The one thing we don't want is heated storage. We just need cold storage, and we didn't know what the plan was with that building.
Where's your light towers?
They're in the small garage at the sheriff's office.
basically taking a car out.
Well, cars don't normally just set in, do they?
Just the reserve cars. We keep those indoors.
Yeah, I know that, the,
And I know there's been talk about 3 big tractors
right,
that need to go in somewhere.
well, are they big tractors or utility type?
They're big.
They're big
They're big.
tractors.
Okay. Field
Which-
type tractors, I mean.
Cab and everything, yeah.
Yeah, okay, right. And so I understand how certain things should be kept under roof for weathering purposes.
Cause them were new last year,
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
they're,
3 tractors.
yeah.
yeah.
And I only brought that up just 'cause I wasn't sure, you know, if anybody had been interested in using
The
the
tractors or
building
the
and with
weeds?
them sitting outside.
The tractors are
You
belong
know,
to the
they're,
weeds?
they're about
Or is
No, I think
At
we
best.
don't,
Don't they belong to secondary roads?
yes,
That's
Okay,
what-
I just was trying to clarify.
Yeah,
whose
yeah.
is-
And they've just been sitting outside,
Oh.
in a snowbank
The weather.
right now.
That's fine, I just wanted to document.
so
whose
that
they were.
was a concern that Ben had. Maybe it would be better if they were inside. The tractors, like your light towers, I think are items, you know, your generators should be inside, and obviously they are, just like your light towers. Trailers, it's nice if they're inside, but do you get into them?
I get into once a month to change, to test the generators, and I haven't done that since December because they're in a snow pile. Can't access them all winter, and that's most likely when we're gonna need them.
Is it just snow that has fallen around them, or it's not been cleaned out?
And piled in.
Really?
They're on,
We're on a city lot.
they're on the
They're
city's
allowing us to
ground.
leave them on their lot, and they've gotta push their snow over there around the electric
Why are they on the
utilities, so,
city lot?
because I got kicked off the county lot.
So you got kicked off the county
I
lot?
used to store them across where veterans parks their vans,
Well, we've talked about moving the van
and I
over
was told to move
here.
them, so the city said, put them over here by our building, so I did.
Interesting.
They really need to be in a shed.
Well, if I'm gonna access them in the wintertime to do generator tests, which, because 2 of the 3 generators are batteries, they gotta be started once a month or the batteries just go dead. If I pull them out, which I thought about doing, then we get an emergency and I'm not around, where's the batteries? You know,
What's
we
with
almost,
battery
we almost had
tenders?
to have one of those trailers that died in a snowstorm, and it was buried in a snow pile, so I don't know how I was gonna get it, but
Why don't you put battery tenders on them? A solar-powered battery tender. I bought a dump trailer.
they're inside the trailer.
I get that, but wires can be ran from the small solar panel to the battery for keeping it charged,
Okay?
okay? I bought a dump trailer, you know, and it's got the hydraulics, electric over hydraulic, and it came from the factory with a small solar panel on it to charge, keep the battery charged. They're inexpensive. It seems like obvious so that and battery tenders tend to double the life of batteries. You know, I think that's just common sense to get something on that. Even if you should have them inside of a building, have a 110 battery tender that you can plug it into. Don't have to leave the door open, you just have to make an access port. So, which I think would be good. So,
But I don't, we're trying to be ahead of the curve here. I don't know when things are gonna move in over here.
I think for the weed commission, I mean, probably all you're looking at is a pickup, because you're gonna leave your trucks out there, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, I'm willing to work with anybody if there's something more important that goes in there. My thing was just, I wasn't sure if anybody had planned on using the space, which is why I inquired about it to begin with. I mean, I have more than enough equipment to fill the bays facing the fire station for sure. On the
Those are
tractor end of it.
Primarily heated, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so, which would be nice, cause like for our pickups that we go out and cut trees with to keep all that stuff warm is beneficial in the winter time. What we talked about even from the tractor end is, you know, when those get pulled in the fall, usually the guys go out and mow road shoulders sometime in October, and then they get cleaned up and they don't run until the following spring. They talked about trying to pull them in there, maybe, you know, get them wedged in there sideways almost where, you know, maybe they wouldn't take up 3 full bays then, because they're, you know, we're not gonna have to move them back out till probably April or May of the next year, which I think would then leave room for maybe getting trailers into
But you would put them on the cold storage.
the tractors.
Yeah.
I don't know if you, or I don't know if those doors are high enough to get those tractors in them.
Yes, they are.
Are they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, it's up to you guys on how you wanna,
Yes,
They are?
yes.
Okay. So, but on cold storage
Yes.
is really what everybody's talking about.
Yep.
So-
yeah, so that was just, I thought, you know, if that way maybe they could get them wedged in there sideways if there's enough depth in that building, then you'd still have enough room to pull trailers in the other 2 bays or something. You'd almost have to play around with it. It'd be different if we had to move the tractors out every day or something, but, yeah.
So why don't we just work with Ben on,
Well,
When it
Ben
comes
and
time-
Byron, I think,
yeah,
would
when it
be,
comes time to store stuff, we'll just
makes
get the
sense.
tractors put in and then we'll
Yeah,
get the trailers put in.
yeah, which I think it'd work. We just have to make, you know, try it and see and, you know, and I'm not, you know, I'm kind of working in between here. You know, Myron and Doug are kind of in charge of the tractors. That was just something I threw out to them just because I know they've sat outside for eons and kind of weather them more quickly than they should probably, but so I can make sure that that's still something they're interested in pursuing, or, you know, up to you guys too on that.
Well, they're large investments, obviously, just like the road graders, you know, and we have sheds for those.
Yeah,
I don't advocate putting sheds up, that's not it at all. But if there's a way to get things like that under cover and work with the sheriff and
Yeah.
Scott, yeah, I think
Sure.
that's ideal.
yeah. And you guys don't have any interest in the bays on the north then?
No,
No, okay. Yeah, because see, that's,
I don't want to heat anything.
I just wanted to make sure that, you know, if I know I had kind of planned for buying a chipper this year, assuming budget gets approved as I had written it, you know, so if I buy something that expensive, I just wanted to make sure I had a place to put it too, so it's not sitting out, same as the tractors, you know, so.
Do you need to look into if you're storing stuff there? Do you still have to insure for flood insurance with the trailers and stuff stored there? I mean,
Correct. I agree with you. I don't know. I don't have that answer. That was one of my questions.
I would think since they are portable, extremely portable, that, you know, Scott usually has
move
enough
I-
notice.
Yeah.
question,
Yeah,
that affects the budget.
Correct.
Removed them, got them out of there.
yeah. And, you know, as I brought up previously about relocating the veterans van to out here, even if it sits outside. Sits outside down there, it sits outside here, what's the difference? But, get it located here, and, that would free up maybe space on the county lot. So, piling snow around that stuff is not a good idea. If we had something happen immediately, you gotta go dig them out. You gotta get some equipment around to dig them out. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So, sounds like something I do.
Okay.
We'll
That's
just,
why I'm gonna throw my emergency management hat on. We're moving an office and a department out of there because of the flood threat. So anything we put in there should absolutely be mobile.
Agreed.
Tractors can drive, trailers can be hooked onto, and everything should be mobile so that within a few hours, it's all out of there.
Because I can't, for the life of me, remember how much the policy is for the flood insurance. You could maybe,
I want to say it's
is it,
15 to 2,000. I think it's, I wanna say 1,700, but I'm not 100%.
See, I thought it was like 3,000.
Well,
For that building you're
Yes.
referring to.
I can look up,
The building's not gonna go away.
No, we'll still carry insurance on it.
correct?
no, but I thought the additional flood insurance, cause there's different, insurance policies on it, and I
Right.
thought the additional flood insurance was around there, but
Okay.
I've paid so many different insurance
Yep.
policies, I could be mixing them up, so,
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and like with our stuff too, that's kind of what we planned on. I mean, we still have storage out of Secondary Road, so if the water comes up, I mean, it doesn't take anything, direct, hook the pickup onto the chipper and the whole thing on Secondary Road. So,
Just have us.
Same thing with your, don't you use laptops?
yeah, I mean,
Computers?
yeah, yeah, anything, I mean, I don't want it to have flood damage, no different than anybody else, so anything that might happen there is something we can pack up easily and get out, so.
Well, I think the sheriff had the best idea of buildings, you guys all work together and work it out.
Yeah,
When the time comes, we'll,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I
I think.
believe Dana's kind of planning on next week.
oh boy.
That's what I was told last night.
He said warmer.
Yeah.
When they initially talked about it, wasn't it like negative 20?
Yeah, it was.
I like that idea.
I ran into her the other day and she said there was a guide wire that had to be moved or something by the city, I guess, before they could get moved in.
We're working on that.
Yeah, I think the buses still have reverse.
I got a bolt cutter in my pickup.
Alright, I'm gonna
Go
go
on
back
the
them
minutes
before
that
you.
Gary volunteered to vote
Right
for.
ahead.
I,
We got a couple minutes in here.
Time for break?
yeah, I gotta go to the frozen tundra called the bathroom.
Okay. You're right on the money there.
Look at all the money we're saving.
Huh?
Not, just look at all the money we're saving up for not heating those things.
You're talking to Mr.
I
Chief.
bet when she was a kid going in this building, I bet she wasted a lot of time in the bathroom.
But yeah, if you guys, I don't know, sometime I can get with you here.
Yeah, we'll just. And it makes sense if you've got daily driver stuff that you guys use year round.
Yeah.
It should go in the heated end.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were thinking, 'cause like, our,
I can't see what.
the sprayer we used to start brush piles and stuff, normally we gotta run that thing for, when it's sitting in cold storage to get it ready at the beginning of the day for a long period of time. I mean, this kind of gets rid of a lot of those issues for us on the heated end, so we can definitely utilize that.
Well, it's got to be cut off below ground, it's froze.
Yeah. We're talking to Mr. Cheap here.
Yeah.
And I'd definitely look into those battery tenders, Scott.
Sure.
Yeah. I'll look into them. We still gotta test them once a month.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Because
say
we
you
gotta
wouldn't.
know they run. It's
Yeah,
just part of our
exactly.
ongoing maintenance is they run every month
Yeah.
when we can to make sure. Because I worked with equipment long enough to know the last time you turn it off is when it breaks.
Anything I owned, yeah.
Seen that way too many times.
We've got straight trucks sitting in the snowbank all winter, you go out and fire them up.
But not everybody's got brand new stuff like
Well, it's 1967.
I was gonna say, I was thinking 66 or 67.
Yeah, that older stuff, most times much easier to folks to start.
Yeah, the new stuff, it's got the computer going all the time.
Yeah,
It's a mess.
for sure.
About 2 weeks and that's it.
You didn't even let the water get one to wash your hands.
No, it's cold in there.
All right, Sheriff, I will start on SART funding.
We met in a Zoom meeting last week with everybody involved in the SART funding. They are working on coming up with an official name for the program. It sounds like Jones County Auditor's Office is going to be the payee on the project, and to get this going the 1st of March through the end of June would be $4,333. Is the figure I was getting.
4,333.
Yep.
which is much more comfortable than 13.
Yes.
Okay. This is gonna be-
Has the county attorneys in the 4 counties have started their 28E agreement yet?
There are 2 county attorneys that have taken on the project.
Okay, is one of them our county attorney?
No. He is aware of it. He was
Okay.
over yesterday.
Okay.
Who are the 2 county attorneys?
Oh my goodness, you would ask.
Sorry.
I know first name of the one lady,
But what counties?
Thinking Jones. And quite possibly not in the agreement, but the Buchanan County attorney has taken a great interest. Was it, were you on the Zoom meeting, Jerry?
No,
I think that was Jones and Delaware.
I was gonna say, if I had to guess, it would be Jones and Delaware,
I'm thinking it was
Because they were
Jones
the-
and Delaware.
kind of in the beginning stages of this.
So should we wait to okay this until they get the 28E agreement done?
I think this is for funding.
Yeah, this is for the funding. This person, this position will be that of a contract employee. So Benton County will have nothing with insurance, any benefits, anything like that. We are in for wages only.
So this is a commitment of funds, and I think we could probably make it subject to, you know, the correct documents being in place, such as the 28E agreement, you know, and having it approved. You know, we're probably gonna want the county attorney looking at it, so, yeah. So, does that sound feasible, that if we vote to allocate the funds subject to? That work for you?
Yes.
That's a motion?
It is.
Okay.
By golly.
You got a second?
Second.
Second. So all in favor to, I'll let you read that off so she can get it down.
Like I wrote it down.
He's subject to new funds, subject to 2080 agreement.
Authorized the funds of $4,333 for this current fiscal year for the SART program, subject to the
County.
What?
Subject to the county attorney checking with the.
2080, yes.
Okay.
Did we vote?
No, we haven't yet.
Oh.
You're just getting it down. He first, you made the motion, he
Yeah,
seconded.
okay. I couldn't remember.
Are we in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Anything else?
How you getting along, Gary?
Pretty good. Finally.
That was hip, was it? Or knee?
Right hip and 2 tendons. Right hip,
Sounds like almost an overhaul.
yeah. I've got kind of like a parts store out in the garage anymore. Please. Got a long haul, but it's wanting to get to the point where I can actually say I'm glad I had it done, because there was a while I didn't know. So.
Good.
So Ron, you know what the plan is then, I guess, for the next fiscal year?
I'm done.
Everything will be in place and then move forward.
Move on.
Thank you.
And then we're gonna start on that, on the grant process.
Yeah.
Must be item 12.
Yes, it is. We got 10 minutes here, the way it looks, right?
I think we should do this.
Oh, no, I can't find mine. There it is.
Told you I should listen to this.
Give you a heads up or an update. I did come in here last Tuesday afternoon and looked at the building, the wall that was purchased. My hope was that I could just continue on and finish up to the ceiling and just move the one wall from the heat ducts or move the heat ducts runs one way or another. Well, after experimenting, the walls that was purchased are made out of 3/4 inch plywood. That's all. They took it, looks to me, a 4x8 sheet of plywood, ripped it down to 3.5 inches thick, made each 4x8 sheet by itself a framework and glued that masonite siding on top of it, both sides, made a sandwich. Then they stood them up and then they let the masonite siding above it 2 inches so you can't see where they took more 3/4 inch plywood, about a foot long, laid it on top of that, sections together and screwed them together. So there is no way that I can reuse them walls. Cause it's, like I said, 3/4 inch.
Instead of using 2x4s, for example, they
Correct.
use the OSB or whatever, 3/4 inch OSB.
In fact, I opened it up above the walk-in door going into Adam's room
Sure.
so I could look at it, and that's when I was shocked. So what I did, I pushed the pencil on getting that out of there and starting all brand new, similar to what I did to the access room. The only thing I really don't have involved in is, which is peanuts, is continuing on the heat duct room, heat ducts. Cause I'll have to, I was gonna move that outside or the hallway wall further to the south to make that room smaller and make the rooms actually bigger.
Okay.
So I don't have to screw around with heat duct runs. But I will have to extend, somebody will have to extend the heat duct runs through the wall so that hot air will dump into that hallway that's in there. Planning on using the doors over again from there. And of course, them are cheap, $40 doors to begin with to replace them, but gonna try to reuse them again. But anyway, estimated cost on just the material was $1,540.
41.
Okay.
I'm just looking for guidance from you two guys. What's your opinion? You know, the taxpayers bought these walls.
I know, because we were both involved in this building being set up, et cetera. And at that time, it seemed like a good alternative because we weren't real sure if it would work, to be quite honest, and that we could move them if need be. Well, it pretty well works, having the rooms divided. And so what you're doing is a little more permanent. Although it's, nothing lasts forever. I mean, they could be torn out again. But, you know, labor-wise, I know your son has worked on some of this, hasn't he?
Yes.
Okay. And so we're talking 1540.74 plus labor. And that's, you guys, you know, your son, for example, did not hold a gun to our head before.
No,
I doubt he would do it again.
no.
So I doubt he would do, that he would hold a gun to our head. So I'd say get her done. Because it could sure shut down an awful lot of grumbling. I like the fact that there's insulation involved in this, which also works as a sound barrier.
Now, like I said, the only thing that I cannot foresee is, like I said, the doors that are in there are cheap.
If you can't use them, you know.
Yeah,
so
and like I said, now, what we put in the access center, them are fairly good, heavy quality doors, aren't they, Ron?
Yes, they are.
Well, you may be wise to just go ahead. We're not talking great sums of money anyway.
No, it's a couple $100 more, but I mean, it
Exactly.
just,
Yeah.
you know, okay, since you're kind of discussing that, let me bring this up now. The other thing is, my question is, tearing them walls out. I don't think that'll take very long at all with the screw gun,
Okay.
from what I've seen the way they're put together. But should they, I was thinking, you know, I don't wanna put a match to them right away. Would it be smart to store them over here, what I'd call the food pantry room, what they're using right now? Because the center of the room is like this. They got everything lined up on the outside. Could a guy bring them panels in there and stack them up like cordwood right in the center of the room until we decide
Well,
what to do with them?
another question would be what's going on with that garage unit? Used to be a little learning center out here. What's in that garage?
Right here?
Yes. No, not here. Out here on the western side.
Oh, tan building,
Yeah.
it was tan.
Oh,
Got a lean-to on one side.
well, there are coolers in it, ain't it?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if they still gardening equipment in there. I
They
don't-
had lawnmowers and all that stuff in there earlier, you know, because it's
Well-
open.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Well, they did last year. I mean, but this winter, I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know.
You know, putting them in that room, you're gonna haul them down to that room, then we're gonna need the room, then you're gonna haul them back out. Just thinking maybe it'd be smart just to, I'd be amazed if there's any plans to reuse them.
Okay, well, I don't
Perhaps we
foresee,
could advertise them.
that's what I was wondering about. Would it be smart to salvage them and then put them on some kind of a,
Put them on Facebook Marketplace,
yeah,
yeah, something that there's minimal cost. You know, I don't think it's to purchase, it's like many things. When you buy it, it's kind of spendy, but when you go to get rid of it, it's
Worth nothing.
even pretty much.
so I guess when I'm looking at, don't we need a motion?
To go ahead with this?
Yes. And I, even though I'm donating my labor on this and my son, you know, is, you know,
He's compensated, he
I-
should be.
yes, I
As you
understand
should
that, but,
be, to be very honest.
well,
That's up to you, obviously. If you want a motion on that, I don't have a problem. I make all sorts of motions, obviously.
okay,
I have no problem making a motion that we go ahead with the walls, replacement of those divider walls, office walls, however you want to call it. What do you want to call it, Gary? And that the other ones be advertised Facebook Marketplace.
okay.
You know,
We're not gonna have any use for them in the future, I don't think.
I would really doubt it. Yeah, and there may be somebody that wants them for, you know, dividing walls. So, yeah. Want to redo your basement, Ron?
No, sir.
You gonna second it? All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
I think I should abstain.
abstaining, yes, I understand.
Gonna donate your labor and abstain from the vote.
Well, I question donating this labor.
Who's advertising them on Facebook Marketplace?
Do you have a way to do that? Can you do that with your flip phone?
Probably can't.
I wanna watch them do it on this phone. I'll do it out here.
Well, I'm assuming
Pack a lunch.
your son would probably be able to do that.
Yeah.
So,
So you're gonna have to bring your son up and then she can watch.
Well, I was gonna say, I know, like Myron, he peddles a lot of stuff through a web.
correct. Yes, he does.
Is it government deal? I have no idea, but,
And that's it.
Yeah. Ben? Ben?
no, I don't even have a Facebook account.
Oh,
There's groups down the hall that can help you. They know how to do it.
I
okay.
had one, I deleted it.
Shelby knows how.
Okay. So we can take them in your room and store them then for a while?
You can deal with them.
We'll put them in front of the TV.
Sheriff and Jerry, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't forget your coat, sir.
I get the old Richard.
Don't feel yet?
Well, I've had that for years. My other one took it down.
Your little Ranger? Really?
Clutch went out of it.
Oh.
It's getting fixed. It's low mileage. It's only got, I think, 270 some thousand on it.
Well, there you go.
Low mileage.
Not worn out yet.
They don't use any oil.
Any reports to give? Nothing, right? Gary?
No, I got meetings this week.
Yeah, I got them piled up. We had 3 of them coming up.
This week?
Yeah.
Any fun ones?
Pardon?
Any fun ones?
No.
Well, I had the landfill last week and that was pretty well quiet. Their tonnage is down, of course, because of cold weather. That's about it for last week.
What are they gonna do with all the trees that they got?
Just let them there. I mean, the ground up stuff, just let it there and they're gonna use it for cover like dirt is what they're gonna use it for.
That's a lot of dirt.
Is this actually wood chips?
Well, it's the ground up stuff like you've been here.
Okay, okay.
Mrs. Anna,
Hello.
We met this morning.
she has volunteered to do your Facebook Marketplace.
Awesome.
I can do that for you.
Okay.
She just wants to take pictures of them.
While they're still up,
While
and
they're
then
still
when they're
up.
torn down, and
Okay.
then how much you wanna sell them.
Okay.
You just
Maybe,
coordinate with Anna and she'll get her done.
maybe Friday of this week I'll be up.
Okay.
I got lots stuff this week, so,
That's fine, sounds good, I'll be here.
okay.
Alright.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna throw for you guys. Hands are full.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
See you, Ron.
Yep, have a good day.
How are we today?
Finer than frog hair.
You guys are up next.
Yeah.
So what needs to happen once a year is we have to present an annual report to the state of Iowa, and you need to sign off on it. And that's critically important because a few years ago, I think it was just before I joined the board or whatever, the Historic Preservation did not send in an annual report, and it put this group on probation, and you don't want to lose this thing. So anyway, this is an annual report summarizing what we've done. We've accomplished a lot this year and have big plans for, I should say in 2020, we accomplished a lot in spite of everything, and have big plans for 2021. And the biggest one for 2021 is this national conference that ordinarily gets held in places like Philadelphia, New York, Boston, and Los Angeles, and it's going to be in Benton County, Iowa. That's pretty cool.
So how do you compete with,
I'm sorry?
how do you compete with New York and Boston and places?
We have a good program.
How this all happened was about middle of summer, Paula Moore, our CLG coordinator, sent out an email to all of the CLGs saying, is anybody interested in hosting one of these? I emailed her back and said, is this something you think we could do? thinking she's gonna tell us, no, it needs to be Dubuque, Des Moines, you know, some big town somewhere. She says, no, I think that would be right up your alley. And I went, oh, okay. So we filled out the grant application and I don't know how many other CLGs offered to host one, but here we are, we got it.
Plus a grant, a partial grant, a grant to partially underwrite the project, so. And we don't know whether it'll be in person or online or hybrid, we don't know yet. Depends on lots of stuff. That's beyond all our control.
Because you signed the contract a couple of weeks ago. Then they sent me the, here's your manual to get started
Yeah.
things. That's to get started. So I'm a little scared right now. Part of the issue with the paperwork, I will be honest with you, I'm not done with it. Last year it was due March 1st, so I assumed it was due this March 1st. It's due April 1st. So I quit being here till 11 o'clock at night trying to type everything in because I got one more month. So, but we'd already set the meeting, so we decided to come anyway and show you what we have so far. If you want us to come back again when it's done, we will, but
I should say what's left is filling in a few blanks. I mean, it's sort of,
we have to put in everybody's on the commission, their name, their address, their phone number. They're all there in that book forever. Real quickly, when you print out the report, it's that thick, but you can't actually print out the whole report so you can read it until after you've put that piece of paper in. But you can't put that piece of paper in until after. So it's sort of, this is how government works. So anyway, basically what you do in your annual report is they ask you, they make you put together a plan of work, which you have on your packet, 2020s and 2021s. They also ask you what issues you've had, what successes. So if you look at if you keep going through your packet, it says for 8.2, describe what assistance your Preservation Commission has given. So that would be that we applied for the Community Foundation grant, that paper. And the next one, and of course it cut it off. Your next piece of paper that says to highlight Preservation Month. They ask you what things you've done having to do with that. Number 9 is, I think, your next paper, and I might have those backwards. Are there any particular issues, challenges, or successes your Preservation Commission has encountered or accomplished this year? That's the COVID-19 was problematic, to say the least. Question 18 talks about a self-assessment of your work plan. So Phil and I worked through that last night. I figured since you have our work plan, do you want to?
okay. I want to hit some of the highlights of what we did this past year and what we faced. We worked with Spencer Grove Church with their restoring one of their large stained glass windows, and we, on their behalf, because they're not, officially, they're an informal nonprofit, we applied on their behalf to the Benton County Community Foundation for a $10,000 grant. We were sure that they would get it, or we would get it on their behalf. Well, then COVID came along, and they decided as a group that they would only support people stuff. food banks, and, scouting and stuff like that. They didn't do any money for anything historic. We're going to work with them and reapply this year, maybe the same results, but at least we'll try. We also worked with Preston Station in Belle Plaine. They became a National Registered Historic Site. A few years ago, Belle Plaine wanted to have them demolish what they had, and they made a lot of improvements there and that sort of thing, and they are now a historic site. They did suffer some derecho damage, which is repairable. Another site that experienced damage was the
St. Michael's Church?
the gas station at the Youngville.
Yes.
Their garage was demolished, or heavily damaged. Don't know whether they're going to restore it or whether it'll be demolished, but they are an historic site and are dealing with that issue. We also work with St. Michael Church in Norway. They
Lost their
suffered
steeple.
a,
Lost their steeple.
they lost their steeple, suffered tremendous damage with that. Fortunately, they had some kind of a layer that prevented water from invading the steeple base. The steeple itself is being repaired, I think, in Kansas City. The 3 bells are in Cincinnati. We worked with them a bit, met with the priest and the parish administrator and that sort of thing. There is interest in that parish to become, in another Catholic parish in one of
Van
the
Horn.
cities, Van Horn, to get on the National Register. We will work with them on that if they decide that's the direction they want to go.
We've learned unless there's a site inventory form in the offices at the State Preservation Office, it doesn't exist. Yes. So technically and theoretically, according to them, every structure in Benton County that is 50 years old or older should have a site inventory form registered, yes. I saw that look, and that's the same look I have. We're working on it. But when you call them to talk about National Register possibilities, they instantly look that address up and say, well, we don't have a site inventory form on that. So in order for them to start talking, you have to submit the form. But it took 2 years to figure out why they couldn't help Spencer Grove. It's because there's no paperwork filed at the state on them, so they don't exist. So it's gonna take us a while to catch up. That's why if you look at the plan of work for 2021, complete site inventory forms.
Most all the farmsteads got buildings that are over 50 years old.
Correct.
I mean, all our buildings except for 2 are over 50 years old.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. There's a lot of historic buildings disappeared in August. And just because a building, a site is on the National Register doesn't mean that it's here forever.
We had a grain bin hit a barn, took the barn down.
Well, I get that. My barn is now lean-to. So, according to that piece of paper, it says we're supposed to go through the details of this report. Have we? Do you have any questions?
I don't have any. Rick?
Nope, don't have
Oh.
any at all. It's
Gary?
very interesting where it's hit the road for history. Very interesting, very nice stuff.
Well, the other thing I should say is Preservation Iowa Conference was supposed to be in Dubuque. It was virtual. 4 out of the 5 commissioners attended it virtually, so that's 96 hours of training for that. And then the NAPC Forum Conference was held virtually in Tacoma. Obviously, we probably weren't gonna go to Tacoma. It was $100 to watch it virtually. And on a whim, I applied for a scholarship that we got for $100, so it was free for us to go, and that was 35 hours more in training. So,
And it is an example of how things may be changing in the future. I mean, a lot of stuff. That some of these conferences that have been in person, well, there are real advantages to that. There's nothing like going to an Iowa conference and finding out what somebody's doing in Grundy County or Humboldt County or whatever. But there's also something they said, for $100, we can sit at a TV screen and, to do that kind of thing, interactive, and have the benefit of that thing. And it doesn't cost us $2,000, but maybe $100 for everybody to go, or anybody that everybody wants to go. And that may be the way that it goes in the future. Who knows?
So do you need us to take action to approve your report?
Yes.
And
He needs to sign a piece of
authorize the
paper.
signing of-
You need to sign off on it.
Okay.
essentially.
he has the paper.
All right. Yeah,
Make a
sure.
motion? You have a
It
second? All in favor to
Aye.
approve the signature? Aye.
It just says we came to a public meeting and discussed the details of our report.
Very good.
Once I upload that and a couple of other things, I'll actually bring you guys the real one.
Sounds good. Do we just need to keep it in a binder for you? Kind of.
I will say too, just, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be happening if we were still meeting at the Pizza Ranch 3 times a year. I assure you, it wouldn't be happening. It is such an advantage having an office just down the hall. We have full access to our files, which we didn't have before, because we shared office space with DHS, I think, or something, and at any time we wanted to get into our files, a DHS worker had to be overseeing what we were doing, because they have their confidential work. We have our own stuff down there. We can come and go as we want. I mean, Allison and I, for example, did some work last night on finalizing this thing. And we would not have been able to do that. We have files, we've got our own stuff. A lot has happened in the last year, couple of years since we've had that office. We appreciate that very, very, very much. You don't know how much.
It's nice to hear things like that. Thank you. for coming.
It's made a difference.
Well, thanks for coming in, guys. Myron?
Have a good one.
You too.
I'll get you right back on schedule. I have a utility permit from Central Iowa Power Cooperative. They have power line along Highway 30, with Highway 30 going from 2-lane to 4-lane. That's gonna force them to move their poles on the south side, basically from 12th Avenue all the way to 22nd Avenue. So they were applying for utility permit to get that poles moved. And so I don't know if all that right away.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Sure, you've got a motion to approve that.
All in favor of approving the permit?
Aye.
Aye.
There's a substation on 19th Avenue, right on the south side of 30. They moved that substation to the north side of 30, or they're in the process of moving that. You know where I'm talking about?
REC used to have a substation on the south side of that intersection.
And moved it to the north side.
Mm-hmm. I've seen the work going on it. I can't remember if that was anything that has come through my office.
Okay, I'll turn it in. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Myron.
Yeah, I don't remember that being, it may have been approved. But I don't remember it. But it has to be moved some, you know. They moved it to the north side because of that fiber optic line that's on the north side, I think. So it ain't gonna be bothered near as easy in the future. Whatever.
Okay.
Bye, Myron.
I take it the permit that we signed off there north of me on the gravel road, REC. They're gonna replace that whole 2 miles of lines, I'm guessing.
They've got a lot of work going on in the
Yeah,
county. I
yeah.
can't remember exactly
That-
which is which. but
They put the woodlap in the ground here
Okay.
a couple weeks ago.
I know there's a lot of poles that they're gonna go through and replace as needed. And just been fairly proactive with their system, keeping that up to date.
Okay. And I'll turn this in. That was for the Keystone deal.
Weekend repair work to get it at least closed up. Yeah, that's what I thought, so.
Good for. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Good
Myron.
thing.
It's a lock. It's a lock. You reprogrammed it.
Good to know. I've
Or
been standing
Gary.
there for a long time.
Poor Gary.
Thank you. Now I can get out without breaking the door.
Is it set alarm off?
Oh,
He can't get out otherwise. He's
No.
colorblind.
Oh.
10:20. County attorney coming in for this?
Last I know he was.
Lori's the one that emailed us, so.
we've got some minutes to take care of, right?
Well, that's what he's, it says right here, discuss, take action regarding February 2nd Board of Supervisors meeting and related issues. Lori put that on?
He had Lori email
Sure.
us.
Okay, so that's what I thought we probably needed to wait on the minutes. So,
Is that why you brought for here?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of
Do we
related
wanna call
issues,
his
I guess,
office?
is what I was
Hmm?
curious, since we were here.
So do we need to call his office and see?
traditionally, we run late.
Hello.
Hello.
Dave's on his way.
Okay. For once, we're on time.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, wow. Pretty well summed it up, didn't it?
You can really, because we got, sometimes you're ahead. Yeah. Did you see them on the way back?
No.
Should we have the gal from the insurance come out and visit us like we said to clarify?
You mean Heartland Risk Pool
Yes,
regarding,
clarify more of the policy that we're gonna change to.
are you talking health insurance?
Yes.
Okay, that's got nothing to do with Heartland.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Because we said originally that we wanted her, I was going over the minutes, that we wanted her to come back and visit us.
Okay.
Do we need to have that done?
If that's what we wanted. You know, to give us a little better recap. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Sure, why not? Gary? You know, I think the more we understand, the better. There's concerns, I think, had to do with the chiropractic care,
Correct.
and that, I thought that was pretty well cut and dried. you know. And when I looked at that, and I have to bring that too, you know, under old business, obviously, as we discussed. I won't lay my fingers right on it. Yeah, there it is. If we stayed with the plan that we had, it was gonna be a 12.56% increase.
Correct.
And by removing the chiropractic portion of it, which then goes toward, they can use towards their deductible, it was a 3.85% increase. And from what I understood in the presentation, that was basically the main difference. Was there something I missed, or?
Well, see, that's why I wanted clarification.
Okay. All right. So, if you want her in, get her in. But,
Okay.
you know, the difference of basically 12.5% compared to just under 4% increase. I know what I'd do in my business. Yeah. And that's kind of what I went along with, you know, with Benton County in mind. So, but you want to get them in? You're in?
Okay,
Not a problem.
I'll line her up.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you guys? And gals?
I told Allison it's finer than frog hair. I probably should divert from that.
Okay, on schedule, so.
Kind of. Close anyways. Close
Yeah.
enough. So I've got a couple of different things on the agenda, and what would you like to discuss first?
Okay, the first thing would be the minutes.
Okay, let's talk about that. So when we had that meeting on February 2nd over here, I was of the opinion that we could go into a closed session under Iowa Code Section 21.5 sub K. I've given it some more thought, okay? And I think we can make an argument that that fits, but I don't like the argument, meaning I don't think it's the strongest argument. So, what?
And that is the, not to interrupt, but that is the one that we had used
And that one, you can make an argument that that fits.
a minimum of
But there's
5
a better-
times prior.
Right. But I actually dug out the books and
Okay.
did some research. And you can make that fit because it talks about, we have a written COVID protocol or policy that fits into that. I don't think it's the best argument though, okay? The best argument is, under Iowa Code Section 21.9, you, as a governmental body, can go into a meeting to discuss strategies in matters relating to employment conditions, which includes the safety and welfare of your employees and others. And if you choose to do that, it's an exempt meeting, okay? And
What
by
was that code
exempt,
section again, sorry?
21.9.
Thanks.
And an exempt meeting, it's exempt from the open meetings law. You don't even have to take minutes in it if you don't want to. And it's certainly not open to the public. It's exempt from Chapter 21 of the Iowa Code, which is again the Open Meetings Act. So,
So that's the one that you would recommend utilizing for that?
well, I've got a
Closed
couple,
session.
thank you, I've got a couple of recommendations here today.
Okay.
Okay, so if the board, you need to, correct our prior action. You're gonna have to do that anyways, and by the way, that's why I'm here in person. This wasn't something that was gonna be corrected over the phone or by an email, because it's gonna require board action. Again, 21.9, you can discuss
and this is, would be if you meet these qualifications, it's an exempt meeting, exempt from the Open Records, or I'm sorry, Open Meetings Act. If you're discussing strategy in matters relating to employment conditions of employees, they're not covered by a collective bargaining agreement, which is the case for the service center and the courthouse employees. And those conditions are, there's a whole list of conditions that fall under that classification in another code section, and that one is 20.9 that's referenced in 21.9, and that specifically mentions in a laundry list of things that you can have be exempt, the welfare, safety and welfare of your employees. And if you think back on what was happening on February 2nd, that's exactly what we were doing. We were trying to figure out what's the strategy going to be here, how are we going to do this, and the conversation was dominated heavily by safety matters for the employees, also for the public. So it fits, and it's exempt from the open meetings law. Now, you guys need to do something to clarify that session, and this is one of your options, but I think you've got another option. And I think at this point in time, I'll take a step back and say, I guess, kind of what my philosophy on this has been. And it's been this pretty much from day one. And by my philosophy on this matter, how is Benton County going to deal with COVID as it relates to how we're running our county facilities? I have observed, and I've talked to numerous employees that don't show up at these meetings that are worried about this. And it's been stressful for them, and it continues to be stressful. And anytime we have a meeting and it's on the agenda, folks can get a little stressed out and have. And I don't think I'm speaking out of school by saying that. I think that we've reached a point with this, because my strategy was, as the county attorney, what advice can I give this board to try to minimize that stress? And one of the things I thought would be appropriate was if we could somehow meet and we could vent some ideas and strategy matters and kind of debate them a little bit, we could kind of get our ducks in a row, so to speak, and then we could come out back into an open session and we could say, hey, this is what we thought and this is what the policy is going to be. And so far, that hasn't worked. The stress level hasn't gone down at all. It's as stressful as it could be. And so I'm wondering if maybe you guys shouldn't just say, let's open it up and just publish it, put the tape out there, and just say, you know what, because the way we have been doing it, it doesn't seem to me, and anyone else can volunteer something, obviously, it doesn't seem to me like we're really lowering any stress the way we have been doing it. And maybe, the way to do that is to just put it out there. Now, before I announced that here today, I had to do a couple of visits. And so I visited with, not everyone in that meeting, but a couple of people said things in that meeting that I felt were very heartfelt. And it was important for them to say it and get that idea off their chest. But I wasn't sure if they would say that if they had been in an open session where their things live on the internet forever, and articles, YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. So I have not tried to talk to everyone in that meeting, but I have talked to a couple of people. And they were, I don't think necessarily that their comments will be singled out, but they were okay if the board decides to do that. So as it sits here right now, you've got to do something to clarify that meeting. You have two choices. You can just say, you know what, we're going to open it up and declare it was, we're going to now say it's part of the open meeting, or we're going to release it. But under section 21.9, if you guys decide that you want to keep it exempt, you can, because that's exactly what we were doing. We were talking about the safety and welfare of employees of Benton County, not covered by a collective bargaining agreement, and concerning welfare and safety of those employees. Everything fits, and again, if you choose to go that route, it's exempt from the Open Meetings Act. You don't have to report a single thing about it. You didn't even have to technically, had we done that day, you wouldn't have even had to take minutes or notes if you didn't want to. It's exempt, not covered at all.
Well, I did print out as per the article in Benton per day, chapter 21 regarding open meetings. I printed that out, and not knowing that he was going to talk about this, happens to have 21.9 on here. So if I may have you guys pass that down to the chair. The February 2nd meeting was done in closed session. We were waiting for the appropriate Iowa code, of which we've used the 21.51K in the past, over and over and over. And I might add that any one of us, supervisors, whatever, auditor's office, county attorney's office, any of us could have gone back and looked in the minutes to see what that subsection was and gotten by with that, obviously, to go in that closed session. But, so the February 2nd minutes, we need to, in my opinion, since it was closed session, we need to plug in one or the other of those codes. And that's just my opinion.
Well, you're not gonna plug in, I don't think you should plug in the closed session, because if you want me to, I can go through it, but it doesn't, in my mind, it's not the best argument.
Well, I mean,
The best argument is 21, if you wanna keep it the way, essentially, in so many words, the way it was, although it's actually different, because it wasn't, you weren't required to have a closed session on it, it's exempt.
we voted to have a closed session.
Right, and I'm gonna tell you right now that I believe your choice should be either vote to keep it exempt pursuant to advice of counsel under 21.9, or just say, you know what, enough of this stuff, let's just put it out in public. I have some thoughts on why I think that's, aside from it, what we have been doing doesn't seem to be working. I have a couple other ideas on that.
But going forward, could we throw that, I mean, again, this is history, this is what we did. We should probably, in my opinion, give it a code section. That's my opinion, mine only. And going forth, we don't have to do any code section. Sir?
We should always, I'm sorry to interrupt you, we should always, going forward, if we decide to go down this path again, we should always have the discussion of what code section and just announce, because you guys are gonna be in a meeting, and then just say, well, this next section is gonna be exempt, pursuant to this, et cetera, But, that's your choice. Again, I think that there's, maybe what we need to do is to use the term, maybe it's just time to rip the Band-Aid off the wound, because what we've been doing doesn't seem to be decreasing the stress and some of the anxiety around this issue.
I agree with you 100%. So you're saying, though, you suggest to use 21.9.
I'm laying out your options. You as a board can take 21.9 and say, under advice of counsel, that meeting was exempt from the requirements of chapter 21. We're not gonna release it, we're not gonna publish minutes on it, and it's a different beast, but it's the same end result in some respects. If it had been kept in a closed session, the public's still not gonna be made aware of what was talked about. If it's exempt and you choose to treat it as exempt, the public's still not gonna be made aware of what was said in private, okay? Or rip the Band-Aid off, and I don't know, we've got other people that were in that meeting, maybe they have an opinion on whether you keep it exempt or we just put it out there. But what we've been doing, I don't think's been working all that well.
I agree with you 100%, but to get moving forward here, all I wanted to know is the code section. That was on that February 2nd meeting was asked.
And if I could, and I didn't call you back, and that was on purpose. There's a couple reasons for that, but the biggest reason is it wasn't something that could be clarified in a phone call or an email because it requires board action. It had to be put on the agenda. I figured I'd just come over in person like I'm doing now and try to explain it and answer questions. And my schedule was such that this was the first Tuesday really that opened up for me to come over here.
Okay, now,
So that's why I'm here now, that's what's on the agenda now.
okay, so you're suggesting using 20, which one, 21.9 or 20.9?
Well, it's 21.9, but then part of the definition of 21.9 has the subsection, or the code section, excuse me, 20.9. You
Okay,
just, for purposes of, as a board, if you choose to treat this as an exempt meeting, it's exempt under advice of council under section 21.9 of the Code of Iowa. Or you could just go ahead and
One
say,
motion for that?
yes,
You got it. You
okay.
got it.
Gary, you wanna second it?
Yep.
All right, all in favor?
well, I'm gonna just,
Okay, keep going.
is there any other discussion?
Yes. The minutes that were put out to the public need some changing.
Well, okay, that's a different issue than the close, if I may.
Okay.
I think that's a different issue.
Okay.
I just meant, was there anyone else in the room that wanted to, there's other officials here. They might have a viewpoint on whether or not, you do it and treat it as exempt, or you just say, you know what, let's just release it to the public.
But I like what you're talking right now, but can we actually move forward to open the courthouse up today? Can we put that on the schedule next week to revisit it, to open? You know
I
what I
think we
mean?
are through remaining, according to what we did February 2nd.
Yes.
Which was before the governor came out.
Right.
Okay, of course, all that is, if we knew then what we know now. But at that time, we stayed status quo
Correct,
to April 6th.
right.
And if you want to change something, yes, I think you can put it on the agenda to revisit that. That's my personal opinion, not a legal answer, sorry.
Yeah, I would say this, you can put anything on the agenda you want, but, you just, on February 2nd said April 6th. We're not that far away from that. But, that's why you're getting paid the big bucks. You put it on the agenda, what you want to put on the agenda.
And then we'll move from
I think
there.
I can speak for, and I think this is almost a universal statement. I don't think that anybody particularly had fun on February 2nd. I don't know, you guys, maybe you're much braver than I am. If you want to revisit that again so soon, put it back on the agenda. But you can't change, I don't think under these, or under this line item on your agenda, I don't think you could open up the courthouse right now. And as I say that, I'm going to correct myself, the courthouse is open. It's just, we're managing the floodgate. Anybody who wants to come to the courthouse, it doesn't take much to be able to get in that building and conduct your business. So, it's a misnomer to say the courthouse isn't open.
Quite honestly, that was one of my corrections to the minutes. If I may continue with that.
Go ahead.
Okay. And I have the minutes that were sent to us. I also printed them off as per the article in Benton today, bigger print. Okay. One of the paragraphs there says, opening, regarding COVID-19 was opening the courthouse to the public. Our courthouse is open to the public, but it is primarily on some offices by appointment only. So I think that's kind of a misstatement on those minutes. And I'd like to see it corrected that, would like to see the courthouse remove, the reason for this was to do away with the appointments. Does that make sense to you? Because we are open.
So it should be put in there that the courthouse is open to the public.
How was
By
it listed on the
appointment.
agenda? Do you have that, what it was listed on the agenda on February 2nd?
Oh, I don't have that with me.
I'm just saying, I did those minutes for that portion, so I'm not sure if that, I probably took it. Yeah, Ben, if you want to bring it up. Because it may have stated that in the agenda.
Yeah.
There's only,
So that's one correction I think should be done. The other one has to do with the county sanitarian's office, that they came forth wanting to take over the GIS room for an additional employee starting in March. This is not new. We approved that in November. I think it was November.
Was that a formal motion approving though?
No.
It was not a formal motion.
No,
It was not a formal motion?
no,
Oh, I thought it was.
no,
He looked into that.
no.
Did you? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
No, but in fairness, it did say in the minutes that that space was discussed and they were told that they could utilize it.
Yeah.
Again, it wasn't a formal motion, but, you know, the Health and Land Use Department walked out of that meeting, whatever date it was last year, firmly believing they had been given authority to use that
Well,
room. And
I personally like to see this corrected, and I know it costs money to print minutes, but, you know, where the county sanitarian came in to remind us that we had given him consent to use that room, you know, something of that nature. I know it's.
I guess you
sounds
can
petty.
email me what you want it to say, so that way we're not gonna go back and forth to,
Yeah.
you know, just both in.
But you get what I'm trying to
I
say.
understand,
This
but-
looks like it was just suddenly, it just came up, but no, we had discussed this months before. So, because that, I think.
I just
was
sent you
part of
one and you
Mark's
corrected.
hiring of this individual.
Mhm. Yeah, just when you stop at the office to sign that paperwork, we'll just get down that,
Sure, sure.
how do you want it read?
Well, I don't know that I'm the best publisher, but you know, I think these were misleading, is what I think. That's my personal opinion. I think they should be changed. And unless there's other changes,
well, while you're bringing that up, you know, now, you know, we have seen that you could pretty much write, I guess, what you want to write, and it can kind of fit within the framework. But one of the issues that I still want to talk about was communication issues as to how the county engages my office to act on behalf of the county. And one of the things was, and I'm going to say it this way, on February 2nd, I came over here for the board meeting. I knew what time it was. I hadn't really looked at the agenda, and it said something about, you know, COVID, reopening, and maybe a closed session. And nobody talked to me about that in advance.
What am I?
And when I got over here, you know, there was, a little bit of a kerfluffle. What's the code section? What's the code section? And like I did today, I just walked in. I didn't bring the books with me. I didn't look it up in advance. I would prefer going forward, and I want to talk about this in a little more detail in a couple minutes, that, you know, that we go ahead and talk about how we're going to engage my office's services going forward. But as it relates to those minutes, you know, it looks like almost, and I'm okay if you want to leave it this way, okay? It almost looks like, you know, the county attorney is getting kind of elbowed a little bit, because the county attorney said multiple times, you know, I didn't have the code section memorized. I don't. It's a big code if you've ever looked at the volumes. I wasn't consulted in advance. I wasn't, okay? I wasn't going to try to look it up from a pamphlet that someone was, no offense, going like this with.
It's a book, actually.
Well, I call that a pamphlet.
Oh,
No.
it says handbook.
Well, it says pamphlet. Are we going to argue that point too?
well, neither here nor there.
continue.
So,
Yeah.
the minutes aren't really all that accurate as it relates to that issue, okay?
You want more detail on the argument there? I can put
No,
more
I'm just
details
saying
in
if we're gonna make it kind of a little bit more one-sided than the other, I'm just gonna call you out a little bit on the fairness of it. But I'm okay if you wanna not be as fair and known for that.
We can go into more documentation on that, that's not a problem.
I think they're fine the way they are.
Then I'm okay if that's the choice as well. But I'm just saying, in terms of what happened in that kerfluffle of a meeting, you know, it wasn't quite the way it's been written up. And also, while we're on that point, I don't know what the usual practice of the auditor's office is, but, you know, wonderful code chapter 331 specifies what all of our duties are as elected officials. And you know, and we may not like all of our duties, but the auditor's office serves as the secretary to the board. Minutes should not be, prospective minutes should not be published until the board has approved them.
I will interject on that, please. Because we're on code sections, right?
But we're gonna be on more than that, we're gonna be on advice of counsel too in a minute, and there's some reasons for that, but you go ahead. I love playing Get Stumped by Gina Edler. Boardroom edition.
Okay, let's
Let's follow down that line. Code section 34918, Supervisor Proceedings. The county auditor shall furnish a copy of the proceedings to be published within 1 week following the adjournment of the board. It does not say in there they have to be approved by the board. Did you want a copy of that code section?
No, I'm gonna tell you that my legal advice is, as I understand, you got a deadline. Not all deadlines get met, okay? They
It
don't.
didn't get met.
And not all deadlines get met. Your minutes are your minutes, and the auditor's office serves as your secretary. And none of your official acts should be put out there the way this was done. It's not the best practices, and I bet you could get a bazillion attorneys to agree with this. Something could have been said that could have opened up the county to liability. We've already pointed out how the minutes really weren't all that accurate in several regards. Is this the usual practice?
you know, personally, we have a precedence, as a board member, we have a precedence that this board approves all minutes before they are printed, sent to the publishers or online services. I understand that it was basically 2 weeks after the fact that it was sent out for public exposure. I was a little disappointed that we did not get the opportunity to review the minutes prior to, as we usually do. And I think it was kind of a CYA to get it out there because it was beyond the 7 days. So-
Honestly, we found out about it, and that's why we did it. We
Sure.
found out about that code,
Yeah.
and we
it
had to
would-
fulfill our
It would have
duties.
taken a few phone calls and a couple emails, and we could have had a quick board meeting, a 24-hour notice, and 24 hours would not have hurt to delay that.
Also, if I
printing
may,
of the minutes.
you could send me, you can make a phone call to me or send me an email. I was busy, but I could have been available other days.
I'm waiting on legal counsel from November.
On what?
Okay.
Voter fraud.
Oh my God, we're working on that, but you're not in the loop on that, okay? You're a witness.
Okay.
It's a potential, no, I gotta say this. It's a potential prosecution, and we don't give you updates and briefings until we're ready to file a charge.
Bottom line is, Dave, you don't respond and give us legal counsel. That's why I do
Chairman,
all the
can you
investigation.
That's, Gina, just, let's move forward.
No, that's, you know what? You ought to consider telling the truth in these meetings.
What facts have I not given you?
They're not facts, it's just you
Let's-
saying stuff, it's not true.
Let's continue
We have
on.
We have a matter that's been referred, it's been referred to a detective, I have a preliminary report, we've got a couple of other things we're doing. It may result in a case, it may not result in a case, but that's the way the system works.
I contacted Iowa Public Information Board. Are you made aware of that?
No.
They gave me the information yesterday that COVID, what their job is to enforce and make sure compliance is met with chapters 21 and 22. When you go into closed session, that code section has to be stated on the agenda, they told me.
Then why didn't you put it on?
I am talking!
Yeah, I know you are, but why didn't you put it on the
Okay,
agenda?
come on.
And I thought we'd already covered this, that we were gonna move past that into the
Yes,
exempt.
that's,
I talked to him too. Margaret Johnson, the head of it, know her fairly well.
Good. So you know you're not in compliance. Good.
Gina.
Ooh.
All right.
But you're
You
not,
know-
you guys are the officer trying to dial down the animosity, correct? Because I hear that quite a bit too.
We need to,
move forward.
exactly, take care of what we are
We're here
working
for,
on.
you're suggesting 20.9.
21.1.
21.
or just opening it up.
Yeah.
Well, we can't open it up, in my opinion, but you're the legal counsel.
Sure you could. You could choose not to treat it as exempt. That's what my whole point of this was. You have two alternatives here. And you've already made the motion. I don't think you voted on it yet.
No,
You
yeah.
can treat it as exempt under the code. That's perfectly allowable. Or you can go ahead and say, you know what? Let's just open
I've
it
already
up.
got my motion on the floor.
Yes.
And you
We
do.
have a
Second.
motion and a
Using
second.
21. Okay, and so let's call for a vote, shall we?
Yeah, so, go ahead.
Aye.
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 Okay. Now, I had two recommendations on changing the minutes to something a little more accurate.
Yeah, you and I were gonna work on that after the meeting.
Correct, correct. And so that's, I would approve the February 2nd minutes, make a motion to approve it, subject to a couple alterations there.
And reprint them.
Yes, of course they have to be reprinted.
Okay.
Okay, that's my motion.
Now, we're gonna approve these before we know what they are?
No, you're just gonna change the wording.
The wording, basic, could I have that back, please, Gene?
Yes.
Thank you. The one is going to be that the county sanitarian appeared to remind us that we had given him consent in November to use that GIS room.
Okay.
Okay? And the other one isn't opening the courthouse, it would be to remove any needed appointments to the public to come into the courthouse, to basically go back as we were, however you may want to state that.
Other than driver's
I'm
license.
sorry?
Other than driver's license.
Okay. Good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So that is what my motion is for, changing those two items.
Okay, we voted on that.
He didn't
He
second
gave
it.
us, he was gonna give a second.
Excuse me.
Now we need to vote on it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The only other thing on here is discuss farm lease and communication issues. If I may, I'm the one that said, well, can't this be put onto a schedule someplace? I have to go into my phone. And Ben, you're the whiz kid when it comes to computers. Surely we've got something.
Say they could put it in an individual calendar and whatever office is maintaining it and have a reminder where it's recurring yearly reminder.
Okay. What offices or office or department, however you may want to say it, handles the other contracts that the Board of Supervisors?
Are you asking me? I have no idea.
Okay.
That's
All right.
purely out of IT at all.
Okay, it's going out here to cyberspace. What other, or what office, for example, we have a contract with DHS. I'm sure we've got a contract with adult juvenile down here for utilizing the office space. We had to go through that when they moved from one spot, one building to another. Who has those contracts and who keeps track of them?
Historically speaking, you have far, far more contracts and 2080 agreements
Yeah, I'm
than
just,
that.
yeah, I
Leases.
get that.
Are we still leasing farmland down by
Yes.
the landfill?
No,
Yes.
that does not concern the county.
Oh, okay,
That's
the
totally
landfill
different.
commission, okay.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
So commission's handling that one.
Yes.
In the past, we had that. You have, if you stop and think about it, you know, I'm sure that you signed an agreement on some of this SART stuff back in the beginning, with probably with Riverview or something.
Sure.
You have cooperation agreements that don't have a lot of weight to it. You have things with HACAP and, you know, all the different funding sources. We have agreements, I'm guessing, a multitude of them with EasyCog.
the last lease that Easy Cog was just last week that I signed. You got the lease that
there's-
you made out for the city of Newhall.
But EasyCog has worked with us and vice versa on numerous things through the years. You have a contract with Virginia Gay Hospital, Gary's aware of this one, for, I don't know if it's home health care or what type of public health services that they provide. I suspect that whatever you think you got, it's quite a bit bigger. In the old days, the auditor's office handled the tickler system, and I don't know exactly how Jill Marlowe did it.
Tickler system?
Well, that's what we call it. That's what, a lot of times, that's what you refer to it in an office setting, a tickler, tickle to remind you, type of thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what her system was. I think she had a pretty good command of keeping track of all the deadlines.
Yes.
And again, historically speaking, I think that's been the, well, I don't think, strongly believe that's been the practice in Benton County. I think it's been the practice in more of the counties outside of the huge ones like Polk County and such. And again, under the code, chapter 331, the auditor serves as the board secretary. The board enters into those agreements, and boards change, but the auditor's office stays intact. Typically, that's been a function of their office. How they're doing it now, I don't know. But I would guess that there's all kinds of things out there, because if you stop and think, how many documents do you sign each year?
Well, my question is, where are those kept? Who has those ECOG contracts? Who has the?
It has to be the auditor's office, don't it, Gina?
I don't know where a lot of those contracts are.
Well,
I think the point was made in the land rent agreement is, we don't make up those contracts, is what I said to you, and you said, no, the county attorney does, so maybe he should keep track of those. That's
right.
what that
And
conversation was had.
Yeah, and so basically, who keeps track of those, if it's the auditor's office that keeps track of those, so that in 3 years, when this lease comes up again, it's back on the agenda. That's what I'm trying to get at. Thank you for arriving, ladies.
Yep.
And reminding me about that license part.
Okay.
So,
Now,
that's what my question is.
we'll have to ask Haley, she'll get that information. I'm sure she's got copies.
I don't know if they're the originals, like ECOG does, Dana keep the original copies.
Right.
I don't,
Right. But
I guess
she'd
that's
have
right.
She'd have a copy though. I'm guessing Haley would.
I'm not 100% on that.
Right. But on a side note, now come back to this farm lease rent, which, we're hoping you're gonna make it out for us.
That's a good way to put it, hoping. Because we're gonna talk about that a little bit.
Okay, that's what I wanna talk about now.
Cool, because that's what I want to talk about.
All right.
So it falls under the category that I put on the agenda of both the farm lease, but also communication issues. You guys, I think it was your February 9th meeting, passed a motion to direct the county attorney to prepare this farm lease. No offense, and I was not offended, so I say no offense. You guys don't tell me what to do, just like I don't tell you what to do. I give you advice. I will tell you, don't do this if it looks like we're gonna break the law, okay? But other than that, I don't tell you what to do. And it's similar, as an example, gave you a couple, what I thought your options were on this closed session portion of the February 2nd meeting. Historically, those farm leases, Joe Marlowe used to do them. And kept track of them all. And a farm lease is actually pretty simple. Okay? I would suspect that most farmers just kind of fill them out themselves, or they use someone in town like Dave Westling, for instance. He's not the only one. There's others out there that provide that service.
You can get them from the Iowa State website.
But the way I found out about your motion, directing me to do this, was Lori read the minutes. No one let me know.
No, they didn't, probably not.
And I'll be the first to admit, we all, myself included, we can always communicate better. But we have a lot of stuff that's been happening over the last, actually, couple, 2-3 years, where we're not getting notified of things. And, I get it, I'm kind of scary guy sometimes, Tracy. I've heard that about you too, by the way. But you're gonna have to deal with me. That's how we get the work done. send me an email. If I don't respond to the email fast enough, send me a second one that says, where the blank are you? Don't swear in public. I need you to get back to me on this, and I will.
Okay.
Okay? We can't have my office finding out about stuff that, that we read in the minutes, because we don't always read your minutes. Going forward, I'm prepared to talk about who's gonna do this lease, but we have a ton of agreements out there that need to be put on a tickler system. And again, I don't know what I don't know if anyone's asked Joe Marlowe how she did it, but Joe Marlowe used to do that, and I think she did a pretty fair job. I don't know what her system was, but I am concerned because I think that we probably have a lot of things out there that are just kind of hanging in the wind. We don't know what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. And it needs to be, we need to figure out a way to manage that. Traditionally, that's been the auditor's office.
Ben, is that something that, whether you have a file or something that can be put together, computer program type thing? Is that a big deal to
I mean,
do?
the only thing I can think of would be a calendar, an Outlook calendar. You could have you could create a group calendar, a shared calendar that you could share amongst certain individuals, and they could have access to it within their Outlook. And you could have recurring events in it. It could remind you when an event's coming up. You have to set the reminder to remind you out, like not just the day of. You'd have to, or heavy event created, 2 months in advance of what the timeline is for it, so that we don't have the alert the day of. Oh crap.
I know that on my phone I've got a calendar and I put dates for upcoming meetings and a reminder that comes up to remind me that that meeting's coming. So, that's pretty simplified, but yeah, it never dawned on me that we have so many of these contracts and agreements out there.
I guess it's
that,
making it seem like we're not doing our job and keeping up in these contracts. We
That's
have a
not
lot
it.
of these
That's not
contracts
it at
that we have them in a calendar.
Sure.
So my question to you, particularly you that day, is who is supposed to keep track of that document? And I also told the board to contact the county attorney that day for that lease agreement. So that's not on me.
No, I'm not trying to put anything on.
But I'm
you.
saying that communication was not to be on our office.
Correct.
Well-
It was, I dropped the ball.
So that's not on
typically,
us.
though,
Between
you
me
guys
and you.
decide how you're gonna do it, but typically in the past, the auditor's office would contact me on something like that if there was a question. Just throwing it out there.
Well, and, no offense, Chairman, but, going forth, that's probably something you need to burden responsibility of, making sure that you request a contract, the county attorney's office, in my experience, did the last one. And I can only speak from my history, and going forth.
And that's one of the deals between me and you, David. I just as soon talk to you or leave it on your voicemail. Because if you're like me with your emails,
Getting later.
I'll be honest, I actually prefer, if we can have a quick conversation, I prefer that, because let's back up. When we were doing the, just as an example, when we were doing the transportation building over here, let's get the county attorney to draw up these contracts that, for these different contractors who are gonna be performing different functions over here. And I'm like, fine, I can draw up contracts, but I need to know the details. What's the start date? Are you gonna have performance bond? Do these contractors understand they have to have certain levels of insurance? There's a lot that goes into it. And the way it was initially provided to me was, hey, can you do up some of these contracts? So a conversation, in my experience, often avoids the necessity to have a bunch of emails going back and forth saying, what about this, what about that?
correct.
And I think it's better, it's still, in my opinion, the IT guy might disagree. I think actual spoken words are still the best way to communicate if you can do it that way.
Okay.
I'm picking on Ben because he loves computers. So I would prefer, and I still want to talk about this a speck more, but not too much more. you gotta talk to me. And so I've been kind of racking my brain, what can we do to improve that? You know, if the chairperson, I hate to say this, but you do earn more money than the other two, if you want to come and talk to me after a meeting, you know, or schedule we have an appointment at, you know, Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon, or a standard thing, or, you know, someone just wants to send me an email afterwards, hey, this is what we have a question about. Things like that, I think, would improve it quite a bit.
Okay.
I'd like to think that, I want to back up just briefly, but it's on the issue of communication. The COVID thing has really stressed out the rank and file employees, and I think that's probably an understatement. And I would like to see that, you know, if there's any way someone can come up with an idea that can make it better, I'm all for listening to that.
It stressed out the public as well.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
and I agree with that, and hopefully, you know, hopefully we're gonna round the corner on this. I think we are. If there's anything we can do to communicate better, I'm all for that.
Okay.
I would like to get around and there's probably folks out there that can spin a word far better than I could ever hope to. But we've had a lot of, on this COVID stuff, we've had a lot of angst. And, you know, we need to, I think, try to figure out a way to dial it back down, because it is affecting the stress levels of everyone. That's never been, I'll be honest, that's never been my intent to try to ratchet that up. I've been trying to come up with ways, can we have a policy, can we have a civil debate, can we find out what the policy is, and once that's the policy, now let's do our duty and enact the policy. We need to figure out a way to do this stuff better. The other thing I had on idea, I'll be honest, it wasn't my favorite idea I've ever had, on the communication issues. I wouldn't be able to do it every single meeting, but I could start coming over and hanging out with you guys.
That'd be great.
Really?
I mean,
No offense, David, really?
yeah, tell me about it, and right back at you, big guy, okay? What I was also going to say was, I'd like to think that, because I've tried to devote some thought, maybe they weren't always the good thoughts, but I've tried to devote positive energy and thought process towards how can we make COVID better for everyone. You know, I'd like to think that if I had a little bit more notice of the meeting that we had on February 2nd, I would come with the code section. Again, I don't have the code memorized. But a little bit of notice and communication goes a long way towards getting a speedier answer.
Okay, let's move forward now, okay? On the farm lease, will you make it out?
Of course I will.
Okay.
But just so you guys understand, you don't direct it, you
No.
communicate it, and I'll say, sure, I will.
Okay,
But I want to talk a spec about how we're going to do that.
so
So
do I.
my understanding is it's already been advertised.
Yes,
I'll do a lease going forward.
yes.
Sorry, Larry. But I'm not going to do the advertising for it.
You
I'm
don't-
going to say that that's still a secretarial function that the auditor provides.
It's already in the paper.
Good, good.
It's already done.
Can
There's
you
1
tell?
week left, right, Gina?
Yep.
And are they, how are they bidding? Are they submitting sealed bids, or are they being
Sealed
invited to,
bids.
and they're
Sealed
invited to a
bids.
meeting?
When are they due, Gina? Can you help
March
me on that?
2nd, 8:45.
Okay, so whenever you have that meeting, and, you know, maybe I'll be there, maybe I won't be there, that's to be determined. Just have someone tell me if there's anything different from the standard terms that were in the old one.
No,
It's gonna be 3 years maybe,
yes.
you know, I need to know the little bit of the details. Need to have a good contact number for the tenant
Yeah,
and a good address,
Yeah.
stuff, you know.
okay. Now, what I also want in that contract, in plain and simple language, that at the end of the 3 years, contract is null and void.
And we can, you gotta be careful, but you can do that. It has to be clear cut, and
Yes.
it's 3
That
years.
way you
and then-
don't have to worry about sending a notification in September. You know, I have things that,
And that standard farm lease, which is, you know, it's a bar association form that I think most people use. It just automatically renews if you haven't done something
Right.
specific.
But like I said, on Iowa State's form, you can get one where it says it's only good, you put in how many, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, but at the end of it, it's null and void. It don't carry over.
So I don't want to talk too much about the detail. Actually, I guess it's on the discuss farm lease, so
Yep.
we're okay.
Yep.
I would like the board then, at the conclusion of this, if you have some specific terms like that, if you're ready to today, let me know what they are. Was this, by the way, in the advertisement?
No,
Okay.
just 3 years.
Okay, that's fine. It wasn't an absolute requirement.
No,
But if you have anything specific like that, just let me know, and we'll incorporate it in. So I will do the farm lease, and let's continue to talk as new leases come forward, and we'll figure out, who should do them and what. Maybe then my office does them. Since we're gonna do that lease, it doesn't hurt for the auditor's office to also keep that deadline fresh. We'll also put it on our calendar. So that provided the calendar works, which it should, we'll get periodic notices, 6 months in advance, things like that. Just to be aware that, hey, it's time to, re-advertise that lease, et cetera, et cetera. Moving forward, I'm not trying to say the auditor's office isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, but I know from past experience, we've got a lot of agreements out there, and at some point, again, a lot of them are just cooperative things, 28Es that no one's really paying attention to. We probably need to try to figure out what those are. And I could rack my brain and come up with several areas. You guys could too, because you sign stuff multiple times a year. But we probably need to be checking into them. And one of them, because Gary brings it up every so often, one of them's that agreement with Virginia Gay Hospital that Gary's had questions about. And it has a clause in there that if you don't do, and a lot of these documents or agreements have these types of clauses, if you don't do something by a certain date to notify your intent to terminate, it automatically renews. So we've got some stuff like that we probably should be trying to dust off and figure out where they're at.
A lot of Virginia Gay stuff is, well, like all the vaccines for the kids in school. I mean, there's nobody else gonna take care of it. And
Well, maybe that's the case, but maybe not, because we have a lot more healthcare providers in the county now with these different clinics and stuff than what we've ever had before. Certainly far more than when that contract was originally entered into. I'm just throwing that out there as an example of one, because you've asked me about it a couple of times, and I'm guessing that if we had to give all of us a test on it, none of us, myself included, would do all that well on all the items that are in it, because it's just kind of floating out there and nobody's looking at it.
And it's good that things are getting done that are getting done. I mean, I think generally speaking, this farm lease is not an example, but virtually everything else is running smooth. So.
Well, I'll go out on a limb. I don't think anything's not running smooth with the farm lease. It's just we need to, if we're gonna do something like this, and it's right to have this discussion about it, we need to communicate.
Well, we forgot to terminate it last year. That was the problem.
Well, and it wasn't like it was the biggest issue in the world. It was rented. It was a good tenant. I'm hoping that tenant, shows up and bids again on it. They've been a good tenant, It wasn't, not everyone, well, I'll say it a different way. No one who works for this county is gonna perfectly make the right decision every step of the way. We're all human, in the grand scheme of things. That's an extremely minor issue that we didn't terminate it and so it automatically renewed for another year. That's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're taking care of it now. I do have some.
Okay.
That's pretty well it.
Yeah, I think we got everything discussed now, David?
Yeah, can I ask, when did you say that they're opening, or they're, to have their leases by and, or submitted?
They
their
are due
proposal?
March 2nd, 8:45 to be opened at 10 a.m. March 2nd.
March
Here.
2nd, so we'll put that on our calendar, so nobody has to tell me about that.
Okay.
And you said open at 8:45, but then they're
No.
invited.
No, due at 8:45.
Due at 8:45.
Opening at 9 o'clock,
10.
10, excuse me.
You got that?
We got a meeting that day.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yes.
I can get it to you.
Okay.
To adjourn?
Motion adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gina, I've got this right here, I'll give